This is the eXact Scan Chassis, an accessory for your X-Rite eXact that allows you to use it as a scanning instrument. The wheels on the bottom allow the device to smoothly glide across a press sheet or other material that you may be measuring. This cylinder rotates as the chassis moves across the press sheet and communicates with the eXact to keep track of where it's at. To connect the two, first flip back the target window on the eXact until the magnet catches it. This pin aligns with an opening on the chassis. With the target window out of the way, place the eXact over the chassis and it will click into position. To separate them, press this button on the side of the chassis and the eXact will simply lift out. Before you can measure a color bar, you have to tell the eXact a few things about it. How many patches there are in the color bar, the exact width of the patches, and how many rows there are. Most traditional color bars, like this one, only have one strip of colors, but other jobs may have 2, 3, or even 4 rows of color patches. So this job has 1 row. I've already counted, and there are a total of 48 patches. The easiest way to find out the width of the patches is to measure the overall width of the entire bar from edge to edge and then divide by the number of patches. This color bar is 384 millimeters from left end to right end. I know there are 48 patches, so 384 divided by 48 means each patch is an even 8.0 millimeters wide. It's important to be very precise. Don't round off to the nearest whole millimeter. For this to work, the eXact needs to know exactly how wide the patches are. Now, let's enter this information into the software. Here at the top, you can see I have an eXact connected via USB. If an eXact with Bluetooth is paired to your computer, you can choose USB or Bluetooth connected instruments with this pull-down menu. Make sure your instrument is properly connected. In the upper left corner, I'm going to input the information for our color bar. The patch width was 8.0 millimeters. I type that into the field and hit the Enter key. Next, the number of patches, in this case 48, and hit Enter. And finally, the number of strips, which is 1, and again hit Enter. To the right, you can also change your measurement condition, density status, and illuminant observer if needed. Okay, I'm almost ready, but before I scan the color bar itself, I first need to read the paper it's printed on. Also, anytime you switch from one substrate to another, you'll need to reread it. To read the substrate, I'm going to click this button in the upper right-hand corner labeled Paper. Then, I place the optics of the instrument over a blank area on the sheet of the paper and simply press down on the instrument. Got it. Now that I've measured the paper, I'm ready to measure the color bar itself. Back in the software, I click the Start button. On the eXact Scan Chassis, this is the aperture or target window. There's a black scribe line that extends from the target window to the edge of the scan chassis. Use this to help align the instrument. I'm going to position the target window directly over the center of the patches on the color bar. And then I can use the black scribe line to verify the instrument is centered right down the middle of the bar. I need to start the measurement with the target window directly over the center of the first patch. Once I have this properly positioned, I'm going to press down on the instrument, wait for a beep, and then begin to roll the eXact across the sheet. As it rolls, I'm watching the scribe line to make sure it stays centered across all of the patches. And I'm also watching the display of the instrument to check my speed. The goal is to maintain a medium white circle on the display. The circle will change size and color depending on how fast I move the instrument. If I go too fast, the circle grows and turns red, indicating I need to scan more slowly. If I go too slow, the circle shrinks and turns blue. The correct speed is dependent on the size of the patches. You can move more quickly over large patches than you can over smaller ones. Keep in mind, a little variation is okay, but too fast or too slow will cause an error message. If you get an error, simply press OK on the eXact display and then start the scan over from the beginning. This might all sound a little complicated, but it's actually quite simple. In just a couple scans, you'll be a pro. As soon as I finish measuring the color bar, a summary screen will be displayed on the eXact showing the patches that have been read. If you read more than one strip, there will be a separate line for each, and you can scroll through them. If you are comparing to a standard, there will be a pass-fail indicator next to each strip. The color bar will also appear in the software. One of the nice features of this software is visual feedback. You know right away if the measurement was done correctly. Look at the first patches here. I can see that they match the color bar. Black, cyan, magenta, yellow in the software, black, cyan, magenta, yellow on the press sheet. You'll notice the total number of patches measured, 48, also the same as the color bar. Along the top is a representation of the patches that it measured, and immediately below that are the same patches in graphical form, showing the density of each color. I can click on a patch and get additional information. I can see the L star, A star, B star values and density of this patch. I can move through them and see how each patch has measured. If the color bar I just measured is a standard, and I want to compare production values to this standard, I can click the Create Standard button. I enter a name for the standard and click OK. The measurement has now been saved as a standard. Now, to compare a production run, all I need to do is select that standard. When I do, you'll notice the standard appears here at the top with an open field below it. As I measure subsequent color bars, the data will appear here. Nothing more is required. The process to measure a sample is exactly the same as measuring a standard. Just go to your instrument and measure a press sheet. So, here we have it. We've measured the sample. This color bar at the top is the standard we created, and in this field is the color bar that I just measured. You can see that these bars appear below or above the center of the graph, indicating that the density is either a little too low or a little too high. Some are very, very close. If I click on an individual patch, I can see the differences between the sample and the standard. Here's the delta E, and here is the density difference. That's how quick and easy it is to create standards and measure production samples using the eXact and the eXact Scan Chassis.